All right, everybody, welcome to Shootin' the Wheeze, the show where we sit down and shoot the shit on the things going on in my life, professional wrestling, or whatever it is we feel like. And normally you guys think of me as someone that lives in a WWE bubble. I get it. I understand. It's pretty much all I post. There's reasons for that. Mainly the reason is time. But I do know things outside of WWE. I do know people outside of WWE. And one in particular, I am having the chance to sit down and chat with. It goes by the name of Big Trouble Ben Bishop. Ben, hello. Welcome to Shootin' the Wheeze.
Hello, how are you? A pleasure to have you. And I get it. You know, WWE, I mean, they're a monster. So I understand why that's what you focus on. But I mean, I'm kind of a monster too, 6'12", 15% of a metric ton. So I understand that you know who I am as well. So I appreciate being on the podcast. Thank you for having me.
Hard to miss. I actually, my first introduction, well, I'll say two things. First introduction to you was just scrolling on my Instagram reels.
Yeah, well, that's most people. Yep. That's not, you're not the only one. I go to shows now and a lot of people are just like, oh, you're the guy who does the reels. You do the TikToks and the Instagrams and all that. I'm just like, yeah, that's me. I didn't realize how big you were. I'm like, yeah, so I get it.
I get the opposite. People are like, I thought you'd be taller. I'm like, I give off tall girl energy. Okay.
Do you know that I don't know if you remember, but we did meet at Squared Circle Expo last year.
So this is what I was just going to bring.
I'm going to put you on the spot here if you remember it.
I do. Well, okay. I was getting ready, I told my husband that I was doing this interview, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm showing him last night your Instagram, and he goes, hey, he's like, wasn't that guy, he was at the bar at Squared Circle. And I was like, you're right.
Yeah, that was me. It was me and Matt Riddle were sitting at the bar. Yep. And I think you guys were across.
We were.
On the other side. And one party bought someone else a drink. I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was you bought or we bought you. I don't know. Matt might have
started it.
You started it. Okay.
We started it because we were doing green tea shots.
That was it.
Uh-huh.
Yes. That was it.
I was like, by the end of a show, I'm so done. I'm so overstimulated and I'm so antisocial. I'm ready to go, but we're still doing it. We're still going. And my husband, he doesn't know anybody. He doesn't know a fucking thing about wrestling or anyone in wrestling. So he'll just buy anyone a shot. He's like, oh yeah, here we go. And the next thing you know, we're 10 shots deep. But
he's the person I like hanging out with. Someone that doesn't care about wrestling. It just wants to have a good time.
Nick Nemeth came up next to him and was getting something from the bar. And my husband just looked at him and was like, you want a shot? I'll get you a shot. And Nick was like, no, man, thanks. I'm all right. And he walked away. And I was like, do you know who that was? And he's like, no idea. No, not at all. He's the best. He's the best person to bring to events for that reason. It's great.
He's not going to fanboy or mark out or anything. He's just there. He's like, yeah, it's just a person to me. No, I love that. It
could go one of two ways. It could be that people love it and they're like, oh, great. Or they could be like, how dare you not know who I am?
See, that's the worst mentality. I hate the do you know who I am mentality and all that. Like I just like people who are cool and want to have a good time. So I like that. So now we owe you one. So we owe you and your husband a shot now.
We will be there. So I will hold you to it. Right, I'll hold you to it. Speaking of, knowing who you are. All right. Who is Ben Bishop? I do know a little bit. I've done a little bit of research about you and when you got your start, but you are a professional wrestler. When did you start professional wrestling?
Yeah, I started in 2019 and it was really by happenstance. So I've always been a fan. I've loved professional wrestling since I was a kid. But I played basketball my whole life and I went to college at University of Vermont, played 4 years there. And then after that, just kind of, got a real job, real life. That kind of hit me right in the face. I wasn't an athlete anymore. Ended up playing a few years of Australian football. But then, I kind of was like, man, I need something. Like, I didn't have anything. And this was 2019. I'm like, there's nothing to do. I just felt like I'd work all day and then be like, 5 o'clock hits. And like, now what? Right? Like there's no goals. Like I've always been like so goal oriented. So one day I'm just kind of sitting on the couch and I was listening to Busted Open and Enzo was on and he said, hey, he was talking about what he had going on and all this. And actually he said, I'm going to be at a show in Baltimore tonight. And I was living in Columbia, Maryland at the time, about 25 minutes from Baltimore. And I was like, oh, I love Enzo. Why don't I just go? So I'm just going to go to the show. Like I'm not doing anything. My wife was dog sitting for a friend that night. So I'm like, I'm going to go. So I went and just kind of stood in the back and at intermission, Gilbert, Dwayne Gill actually came up to me and just said, "Do you want to be a wrestler?" or no, first of all, I should backtrack. He said, "Are you a worker?" And I didn't know what that meant because I wasn't like a
Right. You're
internet
like, yeah,
wrestling
I have a
fan.
job.
Exactly. That's exactly what I said. Exactly what I said. I said, "I got a job."
Mhm.
And he's just like, "No, man, no, man. You a wrestler?" I'm like, "No." He goes, "Why not?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm not." So he's like, "Let me introduce you to Jimmy." So he walked me up to James Ellsworth, and that the
So
next
nice. I
day,
love James Ellsworth.
yeah. Oh, he's great. And the next day I was training. So I was taking my first bump, hitting the ropes.
The next day?
The next day, he's like, "Come to the show tomorrow. Come train before the show." So I was like, "Sure." So I got there. I got there. The funny thing was this armory in Pennsylvania. And I get in and I'm like, "All right, I'm sure everything will be set up, ready to go." I get there, it's just empty. And then here comes the ring truck, 15 minutes. And they're like, I'm just kind of standing there. It's like, "All right, man, well, help set up the ring." I'm like, "Oh shit, this is what I have to do."
Thrusting you right in.
That's what I got to do. All right. So I got to pay my dues right away. But I was happy. It was so cool. And it was something I always wanted to do, and I was already, I'm not shy. I say how old. I mean, I was 29 at the time, right? And that's 6 years ago. So I was just like, you know what? It's now or never. Might as well give this a shot. And here we are. So I really, there was no like, I got to find a school. I wanted to do this. Like, I've always wanted to, but this just happened by accident, really. And I kind of just fell into it. And I'm happy I did. I'm happy I didn't sit on my couch and play Madden all night. I ended up going to the show because I almost did. I almost sat there and play. I was doing well.
But you would have had the whole night. Your wife was dog sitting. You could have just gamed.
I could have gamed all night. It would have been so perfect. I probably would have won the Super Bowl with my creative player that I definitely cheated and put way too high on overall stats. But I decided to go to that wrestling show, and thank God I did.
What were you doing for work, or what do you still do for work? Do you still?
Yeah. So I'm actually I got my master's in industrial organizational psychology. So I actually work as like it's like a fancy word for human resources, basically.
Okay.
But I do. I'm a talent acquisition manager for a cloud consulting company.
Huh. Cool. Yeah. No, I love that. I fell into what I do by accident too. There wasn't a set out of me being like, I'm going to make online content. It just kind of
no, I'm actually interested. What made you really kind of be like, "Oh, this is what I want to do"?
The first thing that really happened was when we first found out that WWE was watching us. I got featured on one of their first like reaction compilations when CM Punk returned. So they took a bunch of our clips from our streams and threw it on Monday Night Raw. So we were watching live, and all of a sudden there's me reacting to CM Punk returning, and we're like, "What the fuck?" Okay.
Have you always streamed like wrestling, or was it like, were you doing it way before that?
I was streaming before, but just kind of IRL regular, just shooting shit, talking. Basically, It wasn't wrestling focused at all. And then people found out that I was a wrestling fan or that I was into it, and so I started weaving it in, and it just kind of turned into everything after that point. So that was like the end of 2023, and then as the product just kind of seemed to be getting better on TV. More people were tuning in, more things were happening. The numbers and views were going up. And it was like, well, shoot, okay, we can do something with this. We can make something out of this. Let's just let's do it. And that's basically it. There wasn't I'm going to be a content creator and I'm going to do this. And no, I like it. I like talking. I talk a lot.
That's it. But that's really, I mean, I tell a lot of people that, and a lot of people that ask me the question about, like, why did you start doing these videos, or why did you start making content? I'm like, I didn't have an intention of like, making this my whole like persona, really, like I just always, I would bring him like back to James Ellsworth. We would always, make joke around about how silly pro wrestling can be and how indie wrestling is, So we would just, and I'm like, you know what? I mean, I've always considered myself a creative person. I just never knew where to really put that, like kind of really how to scratch that creative itch that I had. Wrestling is great and all, but I felt kind of just like something like the question I always said to myself, what can I really bring? Like, yeah, I'm a larger than life person. I'm very big. Right. So, but it's like, that's great and all, but it's like, what else can I be? There's a good amount of big guys, right? There's not a ton of them, but there's a good amount. And so I'm like, what else can I bring to the table? And I'm like, I know that I have this creative side of me, and I'm like, you know what? I was getting sick of it. I was getting so sick of wrestling. So in like middle of 2023, I was like, you know what? Is this even worth it? Like, I'm like, I'm just like getting miserable at this point. And I'm like, what is this ever going to happen? Like, I don't know. Like, I felt just, I was kind of getting over it. So I started doing these things, like these videos, and just to pop myself. Like I was like, it was like, it was like cathartic to me. And I'm like, I just feel like I need to make these just to like laugh at this. Like I need like an outlet. I need something. And so I started doing it, and and like now all of a sudden it started being, people were like, what are you doing? Like, I'm just being an idiot online. I don't know. Like I'm just making these dumb videos.
Yeah.
Like, these are pretty funny. And I'm like, all right, great. And so he's like, keep going. So I kept going, and I kept making them. I kept evolving in different, characters or voices or things. And I'm just like, oh wow, they're starting to kind of really, really take off. And I finally kind of found my voice a little bit, and found a way to like almost like it's like my self therapy. And like I kind of just help myself like really enjoy this again and actually have fun with it. But that's the thing. Like it's like you just kind of fall into it. And so it sounds like the same thing you did. You just fell, like it's like you just fall into this like, content creation.
And pretty much same thing. I mean, you get to points where you're burnt out, or you're kind of over it. I mean, and that's the one thing that I think it's been like a good and bad thing with me, is that I'm pretty real about when I'm over things and when I'm not. There is a point where there can be too much wrestling. Like there just fucking is. Like I cannot sit down and watch every single thing that's on at every waking moment, dude. I can't. And there will
wrestle, I don't either. So don't take it like you're fucking.
Oh my God. I love the internet, but I hate the internet. They've given me everything I have, but also they fucking suck sometimes.
Yeah.
And they'll just be like, well, then you're not actually a real fan if you don't want to watch this, or you don't know this name of this person at this time. And it's like, bro,
It's not true. It's not true. I mean, and the old adage, right? There's so many different flavors of ice cream, and like you don't have to like everything. I'm open and I say it. Like I respect everything in wrestling. I respect what everybody does. And a lot of wrestling is not for me. So I'm not going to sit down and watch certain promotions. And I'm open with it. Like I'm not the biggest Lucha Libre fan. And it doesn't mean I have no respect for. I think what they do is amazing. It's just not my cup. It's not my cup of tea.
And that's okay.
Exactly. If they said, "Hey, big men wrestling isn't my cup of tea," I wouldn't be offended. I'm just like, "Hey, it's not your cup of tea."
Yeah,
like I don't care. And so, but that's the thing, and like, especially the internet wrestling community and how they are. They think that all of us live and die by wrestling. And like any content, or even like content creators, they think
that's my whole life.
Apparently. Yeah, they think you live and die, and you have no other interests, hobbies, or anything going on besides professional wrestling. And I put out a tweet, and I got cooked by the IWC because I put a tweet out that said 99% of people don't care about wrestling, and we were talking about like characters and stuff, right? Like there was a Jey Uso thing, or it was after the first debut of Raw, and I made a video about a casual fan versus a wrestling fan. And like, somebody said about like, everyone was upset about like, oh, too many celebrities, this, that, and the other, right? Like,
I saw this one. Okay,
yeah. So I'm like, but that's what they got to do to bring casual people in, because 99% of the population, which is the truth, don't watch wrestling. There's 330 million people in the United States, and maybe 3 million watch wrestling. So it's a true statement. And I got so much shit with that statement. People, I can't believe wrestlers are saying this. This guy sucks. I'm like, who did I offend? I'm just telling you the truth. I'm like, look at the data. I'm like, there's nothing I said. They're like, well, you shouldn't say that about. I'm like, what do you mean I shouldn't say that? Like, I can't say that? Like, because I'm a wrestler? Then because you're a fan? I'm like, no, I can say what I want about it. And what I'm saying is just the truth. There was nothing I said was disparaging to anybody.
Do you feel that, like, so I deal with, as fan viewer, I'm not in the ring. Do you feel that other wrestlers that you work with around you share the same sentiment and feel that way? Do you what's the vibe with other wrestlers? Like, how do they feel about the internet community, or do a lot of them feel the same way? How many take it too seriously? How many just kind of roll with it? Like, what's that vibe?
Here's the thing. I'll tell you right now, and it might upset a lot of IWC people, but a lot of wrestlers don't care what you think. So a lot of wrestlers, like, I hate to say this, everybody in the IWC, but they will make fun of the trolls just as like a lot more than you think. So I just say it though. I come out and I just go with it, right? Like I'm like, at the end of the day, it's like I don't care what Roman Reigns fans 78345 or Kenny Omega lover 2356782 like, and with a profile picture of some random anime girl thinks about me because like I have a real life and like they sit and they live in their little bubble of irrelevancy on the internet. And hey, this is what, and they like the dog pile. So if one person starts saying, so then all of a sudden it's like, hey, maybe I can get some likes here. And there's plenty of wrestlers that pander to the IWC, and that's fine and all. I'd say, get it how you got, do what you got to do. Like, if you want to pander, go ahead. This is a carny ass business. It's a political business, and it's never going to change. So you got to be political at times, and I get that. So that's fine. I don't mind it, but I'll be the first one to call out stuff. And listen, wrestlers hold that same sentiment that I have. They do. Like majority of them do. I can't speak for everybody, but I know the majority that I've talked to do, because I've had a ton reach out to me who were just like, oh man, dude, why are they all getting mad at you? Like, I don't know why you're asking me that. Like, I don't know. Like, this is how these people are.
Yeah, they are. In the broad scheme of things, it really doesn't matter all that much. They kind of live in their own world, and
that's it.
A lot of it is like the likes, and they realize they can get attention if they have this take or they say this, or they're going to start beef with this person. It happens to me literally all the time. Like they give me shit because I don't care enough. And I'm like, I don't know what you fucking want from me. I'm not going to sit here and write a 3-page dissertation about a match that happened. I'm not going to do it.
It's like they want you to, the thing is a lot of people, they don't like, this is how I think about it. And it's almost like I've taken too much time thinking about this shit, to be honest with you. But like, it's almost like they don't like things that people don't like things that they don't understand. So like a lot of them don't understand my content. So once they started dogpiling, once they started like, getting on me, it's like, this guy only cares about content creation. He doesn't give a shit about wrestling. Oh, this, that, and the other. Like his videos are fucking stupid. Like
doing this for views.
They're all dumb. Oh, and then they bring up Jack Vaughn. Like, oh, he's just another Jack Vaughn. And I'm like, he gets views too. And like, it just happens. You don't like what he does. And like, whatever, it's comedy. It's subjective. You don't have to find me funny. I'll never expect every single person to find what I do entertaining or funny or anything, right? And Jack's the same way. I know Jack. I like Jack. I really do. He's a good guy. And he plays a shtick, except that, everyone gets worked by his shtick because it is what it is, but people don't like what's different. So they have their set of what they really enjoy. So whatever it may be, let's just say it's like New Japan Wrestling, right? They have that. And everything else and things that they don't understand. Like if you don't like New Japan Wrestling, you're in the wrong and you're a horrible person. If you don't like what they like, but if you're doing something different that they don't really kind of understand either, it's the same thing. They feel like it's like, if I don't understand it, I have to hate this. So I can't like this. And why doesn't Wheezy like what I like? So if she doesn't like what I like, then she must be dumb, stupid. Like she shouldn't be making content about WWE. Oh, she's a grifter. I'm sure you've been called a grifter, right? Yep. Yeah, so have I. So I'm sure you've been called it because if you support something that you like, you're a bad,
I'm a shill.
You're a bad person. You're a shill.
Yeah, WWE pays me.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, you're a big Lions fan, correct?
Yeah.
Huge, right?
Yep.
Are the Lions paying you?
Fuck no.
Yeah. So that's what I don't get. Like, so you can't be a fan of something, or that means you can't support something. Like you can't support a sports team, or you're a shill, or you're a grifter, or you're. So it's really they don't live in the real world. They live on the internet. So that's why I never. So really, long story short, I never take what these people say seriously, because they don't live in an actual world. They live on the internet, and the internet's not a real place. It's
really not. The last thing I'll say about it, honestly, is just they expect you, because if I don't like something, I'm not going to, like I said, write a 3-page dissertation about it. I don't like it. Okay, move on.
It's not exactly.
And there are people that do things similar to what I do, that they will come at people like myself or a couple other creators that get to go to media events, and they'll be like, oh, well, the reason that they're not criticizing this is because they're going to lose their free media pass, or they're going to lose their free this or free that. And it's like, that's not how it works.
Yeah. They don't
a lot
know
of the things
how it
that people will assume are free are not free. But that's just the internet can just make up whatever they want and say, yeah, that's why she's not going to give a real take, or she's not going to actually criticize, because then this is going to happen. It's like, no, I don't feel the need to talk shit on the internet all the time. I just don't.
And really, to like wrap it up in this kind of with this topic, they're also jealous. A lot of it's jealousy. A lot of it's jealousy that
Yeah.
you're getting, that you're doing something they kind of wish they could, and you've
Yeah.
kind of figured it out, and you're getting views, and you're getting, and you're getting engagement from
Right.
people, and they're not. So they're like, and they feel like they could do it, but they're just not doing it.
But they don't.
And that's most of the jealousy comes from. It's like, damn, I didn't figure this out. So instead of just saying like, hey, good for you, what they want to do is just say like, she sucks and she's a grifter and she's this and they want to tear you down because you're doing something they wish they could be doing. They just haven't figured out, and they're not talented or really marketable enough to do it. So that's what it comes down to.
Needed that affirmation today. Thanks.
You got it.
All right. So back to, it was 2019. You got into wrestling really quickly. What was your like family and your wife's reaction to you? Would you just come home and hey, I'm going to do this wrestling thing. What was their reaction to that?
Yeah. So I called her after, and she could tell how happy I was on the phone calling her after I trained for the first time. And she's always told me to do it. So my wife, Danny, she's always said, you should try it. You should do it. You should. And I was always, I don't know. I had a lot of injuries in college. So I was like, I don't think I could do it. She's like, yeah, you should, you're entertaining. You're like you're a big personality. You just have nowhere to put it, because you can't really act like a wrestler in real life. So I'm like, so it's like, you have to know where to put. So, they were, surprised everybody. And I was really, when I told my dad, remember when I graduated college, I told my dad, I want to be a wrestler. He goes, well, you just got into grad school, so you're definitely not going to be, don't you dare be a wrestler because you're going to fucking grad school. And so I was like, well. So when I told him I was going to do it, he's like, yeah, you know what? Why not? He's like, give it a shot. He's like, have fun with it. So my family was really supportive. Nobody was like, you shouldn't do this. You're dumb, this, that, and the other. I had a bunch of friends who were really excited for me because they knew I always liked it. I was always the kid who watched wrestling. I didn't have any friends that watched wrestling. So it was really only, you didn't either?
I know.
Yeah. So it was like, I didn't have people to talk to about it. So I'm like, oh, wow, now I finally can join a community of people that actually watch this shit. And so, yeah, everybody was really awesome about it, and I give a lot of props to Danny. She puts up with a lot, she has to, it's tough being with anybody that's within wrestling. There's a lot of travel, a lot of time commitments. The funniest thing is when she hears me making these videos, and she's just like, "Are you okay?" Like if I'm doing anything like yelling, like the dogs are scared. They're scared. They don't know what's going on.
And she's been a point of she's been in the content too.
She's in the number one video I got.
She's been in it.
The number one video I got was her, it was her. So, and she did it in like one take. We did that one take. And the one where I came home with the belt and she's like, well, yeah, get ready for real life again. Slap.
Yeah, actually, can you do the dishes? Take the trash out. Thanks.
And the dog shit. Go take care of it. No, yeah, exactly. So yeah, she's been a really good sport about it, but I give her a lot. She's very supportive, and it is tough. I get it. I was away this weekend. It's hard.
How often do you travel? What is your travel schedule like?
It's really, I would say I'm not doing like, Wednesday to Sunday or anything like that. I'm not traveling like crazy because again, I have a real job. Right. I shouldn't say real job. That's unfair.
I say the same thing,
but you know what I mean. A shoot job, yeah. Right? So it's really like this. Like some months are really crazy where I'll be gone like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But I've gotten a lot more stuff like local because I live down outside of Atlanta now. Mm-hmm. So I've gotten a lot more stuff like local, like this weekend, wrestling AJ Francis in Atlanta on Sunday. So I don't have to travel this weekend. So I got 2 things Saturday and Sunday around this area. And I would say probably like 2 or 3 weekends a month, honestly, I travel, but it's just weekends. Fortunately, we both work from home. There's no big commutes that we have.
Oh, cool.
So we can see each other. We can see each other often. So it's not like I'm going all the time, but I get it. It's still hard. It's definitely hard.
For sure. What was it like so you started in 2019. What was 2020 like then? Because you started right before all of everything pretty much shut down. Did the schedule and everything change? Were you still training? What was happening then?
Yeah, and that was a major bummer because, at one side, like I had my first match, things were starting to ramp up, and then all of a sudden, everything kind of went to shit. So,
right.
What like that April had absolutely nothing. I didn't train. I didn't do anything like on April of 2020. But then, fortunately, Well, you could look at it as fortunately or unfortunately. A lot of states didn't care. So Tennessee being one. So I went to so I went to Tennessee a ton. You know, I got to work for the late great Burt Prentice. A lot of like people like he was a big time indie wrestling promoter in Tennessee, Nashville to Memphis, that area, that territory. Okay. So I got to work a lot for him. And fortunately I got to, so I would go with Els because Ellsworth would get booked. He'd just bring me with him. And it was easier for me because he'd just be like, I got the 7-foot guy. Will you book him? And most people are like, yeah, for sure. Yeah, we go.
You're on.
We'll make a spot. So I just traveled with him and got a lot of stuff, you know, and I hand it to a lot of places that for getting really innovative during COVID, either running shows without fans or trying to do stuff on YouTube or whatever it may be. So I kept as busy as I could, and I actually had a pretty solid amount of matches in 2020. I know a lot of people kind of, and no hate on them. A lot of people just kind of took off a bunch of months, and I don't blame them. That's totally fine. But I was just getting started, and I'm like, I don't want to just kind of stop and halt everything right now. So I tried to find anything I could. So Tennessee, I don't know if you're familiar, Grimm's Toy Show.
I am actually.
Okay, yeah. So GTA. So Grimm is great, and a lot of people give them shit for what they do, but the best thing, you know, they get a lot of views. They have an audience. I still have people come up to me, and I haven't worked for Grimm in like 3 years, but I still have people at shows come to me and be like, I remember you from GTS, because it had such a, like, really in 2018, 2019, they had a lot of views, and they still get a good amount. And yeah, the wrestling might not be the best, and everyone gets that, but like it's very character based. So I got to actually really work on my character while I was there and kind of figure out who, you know, Big Trouble Ben Bishop was and what I wanted to eventually be. And it's kind of changed since then, but like, you know, a lot of promo time, where a lot of shows you don't get promo time, and it was going to be on YouTube and people were going to see it, and you're going to see direct, like, either criticisms or, you know, feedback from the audience or the people that are watching. So that was great. So I would do that like once or twice a month as well. So it was good to kind of get out there and do a bunch of different things. You know, and then eventually things kind of got a little bit better, and I got to traveling more. But yeah, it was definitely pretty brutal. I'd say it was brutal, but you know, I kept as busy as I could.
That's awesome. Grimm's, I became familiar with in doing this probably like 4-ish years ago, and it was just recently I had to remember to I love them, the great organization. I did mute them on Twitter because they were doing this back and forth where it was taking over my entire feed. And I was like, okay, all right. I'm going to mute this for a little bit because I'm not seeing.
No, it was anything. It was a lot. Yeah. Yeah, for a while it was huge. I mean, he was, I think at one point, I mean, he still has over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. And I think at one point it was getting, it was, of all wrestling like companies across the world, it had like the 5th most engagement of online. Yeah. It was a monster for a while. They have a ton of videos with like 5 million views. Like it really was. You know, I don't know where they're at right now. I try to keep up with it as much. And Grimm's a great guy. Dave, he's a really awesome guy, and I consider him a friend. But you know, I wish them the best. But it was really fun to work there because it was different. It was like the island of misfit toys.
Yeah.
Right. Like, but like everybody had a character in the matches. You know, they were like 3 to 5 minutes, nothing longer. But everything was character based, and you kind of had to like work on that. And it wasn't just like, you know, wrestling. It was, you got to be somebody here. You can't just wrestle. So that it really helped me out. It did help me out a lot.
Do you feel like, so with them having that kind of following and the views that they got, and then I know, you know, people like you that make content, and people like Jack Vaughn and even like Cardona, people that are out there that make content, do you think that a lot of the promotions understand the importance, or like the what's the word, just the value of social media and creating content? Do you think that they see that? Are they getting more onto it?
I think it's that. I think it's the latter. I think they are starting to understand the importance of social media, and I give a lot of credit to a guy like Matt Cardona for really ushering that in and making a lot of promotions understand the importance of it. Because let's face it, right? Like, you know, you could put on a wrestling show, and you can reach, you know, as many people as you can reach, and you can put it on YouTube, and maybe hopefully you'll get 1,000 views or something like that. But like, why not why not make your wrestlers like everyone says, like, put promos out, and that's great and all, but like if you're just cutting a promo against Joe Schmo from like the middle of Ohio, and you're like, oh, I can't wait for Saturday night when I'm coming to Youngstown, Ohio to beat up, Joe Smith, and get your tickets and make sure to buy the 50-50 raffle. Like, like, no, like, yeah, that's cool and all, but like, is that really going to get people in the door? Like, really, like, or if like you create this content and people are watching and they're like, oh man, I saw your videos online. They're funny. They're good. Like, oh, you're coming to Ohio? Oh, I live 30 minutes away from this venue. I'm going to go show up. And like a lot of wrestlers are afraid to kind of do that and put themselves out there.
But that's interesting because aren't you just putting yourself out there in general? Just
exactly. Isn't that funny? Yeah. No, but they think like and it's like they're afraid. A lot of wrestlers, I can't speak for everybody, but I have heard from a few and some people that are actually sometimes afraid to be in videos with me because they think they're going to get heat. So,
oh no.
Yeah, I know. Oh boy. Oh no.
Shit,
right?
I didn't know that.
So like they really think that they're going to have some pushback or someone's going to get mad at them for being in like a video that's kind of, poking fun at certain little tropes in wrestling. Right. I mean, look at what the like BTE, right? Like with the Young Bucks that they had the whole series was about that, literally. And it's all the same people that get mad at me for doing it, and Jack, but oh well. But so again, like I really give a lot of credit to Cardona for ushering that in and making people realize that. And I have gotten a lot of bookings based on, hey, I love your social media. We'd love to bring you in. Because we're in a business where you have to stand out. And a lot of people are afraid to kind of stand out. It's like, well, no, I train, I wrestle. That's like, I'm just going to put clips of me wrestling. And again, what I mean, 99% of people don't care about that. Like they don't care about watching. And then even less percentage care about indie wrestling. So they're like, I'm not going to watch a clip of you in VFW in the middle of Pennsylvania. Like it's not going to grab anybody's attention. They watch wrestling. Yeah, they watch WWE. They watch AEW. Like I'm not interested in indie wrestling. But like if you can show them like a genuine character and you can show them genuine entertainment, like okay, now you're going to hook them, and it's like, oh, now I'll watch you wrestle. Perfect example is Joe Hendry. Like he is the perfect example of this, where it's like, and this isn't any type of insult to Joe at all, but I'm sure the high majority of people that have seen Joe Hendry's face and heard the song have not seen a Joe Hendry match, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, because that's how you got to get over, because there's a lot less wrestling fans than non-wrestling fans. Right. So you got to find a way to get over. And he did, that song's been out for 5 years. And then finally last year, I remember I was at a Ring of Honor show in 2019, right when I started training. And I met Joe very quickly, like backstage. I'm not even sure if he remembered that, but I remember him coming out and I heard the song and I'm like, this is catchy. This is pretty good. Who is this guy? Like I didn't know who he was at the time. And I had a buddy with me who was also a wrestler. He goes, "Oh, Joe Hendry. He has this song. It's funny. He's like this motivational type of gimmick." I'm like, "That's pretty good." And and then I kind of like kept seeing his name pop up at the next 4 years. Then all of a sudden, last year, it explodes
out of nowhere too. Really out of nowhere. Exactly. I didn't even know why or how, but it was on YouTube. It was on TikTok, and you're like.
And then look at that, and it explodes, and there's the power of social media. I mean, and Costco guys, another one.
Oh my God.
that guy AJ has been a professional wrestler for years.
I had no idea who they were.
No one knew.
No.
And he wasn't on anyone's radar. He was this New Jersey-based wrestler, and he was a solid wrestler, and he had a good size, he had a look, he was a character. No. But nobody took him. Nobody was going to give him a shot. And all of a sudden, he makes this video with his kid, and it blows up. And then he has a match on AEW, and he's going to have more matches on AEW. And there you go. And social media was the reason. It wasn't because he wrestled for years. And I mentioned this too online. I'm like, that's amazing that this guy was able to get. He's been a wrestler for years. He's always wanted a shot, and he never got one until he made these videos. And now people are like, "Ooh, I want to see Big AJ. Oh, he wrestles too. Oh, I want to see him wrestle because this is great."
I didn't even know he would, like, once I found out who he was, I didn't know he was a wrestler.
No one did. No one did.
I was like, wait,
unless
what?
you were like really tapped into the New Jersey independent wrestling scene in like the mid 2000s, right? Like nobody did. So like, but there is the exact, reason why I say like social media is so important. And like people will give me shit and be like, and I actually got it from I won't name his name. I don't want to bury the guy. But I did have a wrestler quote tweet the video I made about the Netflix debut. And he said like this guy sucks so bad. Like that was his quote tweet. And he said, he's a wrestler, guy from Missouri. And then he, I'm going to keep outing him if I keep talking about, but I'm going to actually say his name. But then under the most clown tweet about it, he said under it, he goes, "I'm done being quiet about it," which I'm like, "Oh, you're so brave."
Oh, he's coming to work.
Yeah, right. So like, but what I did, I had this big thing. I was like, I was furious. I'm like, oh boy, I'm gonna go after, because now he's a wrestler. So I'm like, okay, you really want to do this? So I was like, had this thing, and I'm like, you know what? I erased it all. And I looked through his profile. Yeah, it's actually really good to do.
Restraint.
I do it at work too. But so I looked through his profile, saw his highlight video. So I'm like, all right. I quote tweet his highlight video. I say, "This guy thinks I suck," and that's his opinion. But I think he's pretty good. I'm like, you know what, you guys, you should book. I'm not going to say his name, but you should book him. And then his tune changed real quick. So and so now it was like, "Oh, don't try to kill me with kindness." I'm like, I'm not, man. I'm just calling it how it is. Like, I don't care if you don't like me. It's like, I think your highlight tape's pretty good. And if you think I suck, doesn't mean I think you suck. And he's like, then it was, So
change the tune. They change their tune.
Change his tune. And that's what happens
all the time.
Yep. And as soon as you confront these people, that's another thing. They'll never say what they say online to you in person. So it's like, hey, you can come say it to me. Like, it doesn't mean I'm not an internet tough guy. I'm not going to be like, "Oh, I'm going to come meet me backstage or come meet me at this show outside. Let's fight." No, I'm like, if you really feel that way, come talk to me. Or if you want to send me a DM or something and be like, "Hey, I don't like what you said. Like, I don't like," like, if you want to talk about it, we can, I got, I'll make time to talk about it. I tell people that all the time. If you want to ask me why I do this or what my motivations are or anything, I'll talk to you about it. Or if you really think it's not funny, I mean, you can tell me. Or really, if you don't think it's funny, don't watch it. Like, I'm not forcing you. Like, I've had people say that too. It's like, why don't you post, like, I'm kind of sick of your comedic videos. Like, why don't you post more matches? I'm like, I'm not making you watch.
My life.
That's exactly like someone like you doing the streaming and and reaction videos. It's like, "Oh, I hate this." Why are you watching it?
Why? You don't have to keep scrolling or block me. I don't care. Like,
mute it.
Me off of your timeline.
And that I can go on a full tangent, but we'll keep going. But
no, you're fine. You're fine. Also true. I know the power of social media myself and what I've been able to do and the things that I've gotten to do with my own platform, and feeling sometimes like I wasn't even really trying that hard. Got to work at WrestleCon this last Royal Rumble down in Indianapolis. And I will say, for some, like Joe Hendry had the longest line the entire day.
Told me that. Yeah, he said he said he was like the definitely top 3 longest line there, like by far.
Oh, it was crazy.
Yeah,
it was crazy. And other people that I know have utilized the social media is someone that you are going to be having a match against here soon, the 23rd, and that's Mr. AJ Francis. When's that? When is that coming up? The 23rd.
It is 23rd, Sunday. It's almost a week from today. AJ is another guy who to kill kayfabe for a second, I think AJ has done an absolute tremendous job at his image and doing what he does on social media, playing up his character, which is really just AJ, but just AJ turned up to 11. No, not really. It might just really be AJ. Nobody loves AJ more than AJ. I'm giving too many my promo that I'm going to cut soon on him. Giving it away. But no, I really do think that he has done a tremendous job in everything that he's done so far, getting himself out there, staying busy, and because guys leave. a lot of guys and girls leave WWE and they just kind of say like, "Oh, I'll get a bunch of bookings, or this will be easy. Like I'm just going to come out and everyone's going to want to book me." It's really not like that,
Yeah, no.
unfortunately.
But for sure.
And I want everybody to get booked and make money and everything. But we know what's real, right? And
For sure.
it's not that way. So you got to look at guys like Cardona and AJ who come out of WWE and they're like, am I going to sit here and throw a pity party for myself and hope people call? Like, yeah, they'll call for a bit, but if you weren't like a top main event star, like titles and all that, like you got to do some work. You got to get people to want to book you. And he's created a whole new, a similar persona, but he's kind of reinvented himself a bit on the indies and kept himself busy, and he's getting booked at all these places and MLW, TNA, NWA,
everywhere. Jesus Lord.
Reality wrestling. How funny that was. But yeah, so yeah, AJ, we give each other a lot of shit. I think there's a mutual respect there. There's at least one way, but I think there is. But I'm excited. I think he doesn't get enough credit as a wrestler. Everyone, internet will never forget. And he had the one. I hate the word botch because I don't think there's any such thing as a botch because wrestling's a simulated fight.
Yeah, I don't use it.
And things can happen in a fight. But you know what I mean? So he had the thing where he went over the top rope and it didn't work the way he wanted to. But you got to look at a guy the size of him and how he can move and what he can do. And I respect the hell out of it as a big guy. So we're gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna beat the shit out of each other, but it's gonna be a good time. I'm really looking forward to it. He touts
having the best choke slam in the business.
He's got a good one. Mine's a little different than his. I kind of sit out with it. I kind of stole it from Damian Priest. This is the south of heaven. I can call mine north of hell. Choke slam. But yeah, he's got a good one. I know. I gotta see if I can get his big ass up in the air for it. But we'll see. We'll see. It's gonna be a battle of choke slams. Whoever can hit it first.
It is. Win. Well, and the thing with him too, when you're talking about people leaving WWE, a lot of them they leave and then you never see them again.
Yeah.
AJ and Cardona are two people that I don't think, no matter how hard I try with my algorithm, I don't think that I cannot see them. They're on my timeline constantly. They're constantly putting things out, and so the visibility is always there. And so they're just.
And that's something I got from Matt. Or Matt Matt told a story one time where he was at NWA, and one of the wrestlers came up to him and asked like, how do I utilize social media better? And he said, well, let me take a look at like what you got. And he looked at the person's phone. He's like, you haven't posted anything in like 5 days. And he's like, well, yeah, I haven't really had anything to post. He's like, well, how do you expect to use social media better if you're not? He's like, I post something every 5 hours at least.
Yeah, I've seen him say that.
Yeah, so
or you can schedule it. You can have it scheduled to post for you.
Something. Yeah, exactly. Or put it in the drafts. Or hey, I'll if you don't want to schedule it, be like, hey, I'll write this out and I'll remember in a few hours I want to post it or something. And guys don't want to take advantage of that. A lot of guys think social media, it's like, social media is dumb. It's not like real fans. Like, yeah, the internet's not real, but still there are fans out there. There's more people that's going to see a post on social media, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, than are watching some of the current products. They're going to see it. You have more of a chance to see it. And especially if you're on TV and you're not getting a lot of TV time, why don't you do something like social? Why don't you take advantage of Instagram or Twitter or anything? I had one indie wrestler say to me once, why do you post so much on social media? And I was like, well, I'm trying to get myself out there, and that's engagement. And, if I can sell a few tickets just by engaging with a few fans, that's the point of this whole business. If I can get some people, and he goes, well, dude, you don't see Roman Reigns tweeting all the time.
Oh, no.
Hey, brother, I got something to tell you. I'm not Roman Reigns.
I'm going to break this to you gently.
If you don't know this yet, neither of us are Roman Reigns. So I just want you to know.
It's a different path, brother. It's a different path.
If I was there, yeah, maybe I'd be okay not tweeting too much. I'll be fine. But I'm not. And when I mentioned it, he's like, yeah, well, you gotta think of yourself like that. Yeah, okay, that's fine. You can think of yourself as the greatest wrestler in the world. You can think of yourself as the biggest marquee performer ever. but in reality, we're not yet. So like, we got to do something to get ourselves over. So
where you are now.
Yeah, exactly. Look at so that mentality a lot of wrestlers have, where it's like, oh, well, John Cena and Roman Reigns, they don't tweet like this, and all these guys. I'm like, yeah, well, they have jobs that are making millions of dollars, so they don't need to.
John Cena doesn't need to post anything on the internet ever again if he doesn't want to. Like,
no, he's in movies. It's like, okay, so what are we? So I'm supposed to sit here and do nothing? Yeah. And like, no, so no one knows, but just because Roman Reigns does, like,
because you believe it.
because you believe that you're a star. And like, yes, you should believe that you're a star. That's part of it. But like, you have to find a way to get yourself over. That's not just going to a show once a weekend, because a lot of people are never going to see it. You have 300 people maybe at a show, right? And if you,
for sure,
like that's great. Like, and maybe you might sell a little bit of merch and take some pictures. Awesome. I feel like the man. That's great. But then here comes Monday, and nobody else knows who the hell you are or what you've done. So like, it's a business of what have you done for me lately. So if you can do something so cool, and then the next week hits, you're old news now. Like, it doesn't, like, no one's like, if I had that AEW match, right? I had the Rampage match.
The Rampage one. When was that?
It was last year in July.
Okay.
And I could have easily just, posted the picture. Hey, this was great. Thank you all for watching me get beat up by a guy half my size in a minute and a half. This was great, right? I could just, revel in that, right? And post the pictures, get a bunch of likes. Oh, that was so cool. We saw you on TV. Awesome, and almost become complacent, But I had a basketball coach once tell me, don't let the adulation that you receive make you become complacent. And I was like, what can I do with this? Like, what can I, like, as soon as I heard I had that match, I just really said, like, what can I do with this?
Absolutely.
And all of a sudden I'm like, I gotta take what I'm being given, this match, squash match. It is what it is. And where I don't do anything. I got to figure out a way to like stand out. So 5 minutes before, I'm like, I'll do a stupid pose. Like I never did that pose before in my life. I've never done that in a wrestling show or anything. And I'm just like, I got to do something where I'm just going to like turn to the camera and stand out like this. And because I knew that the only time that camera was going to be on me and focused on me was when my name was announced. And that was the only guarantee I had in that match. And I'm like, let me do this stupid pose. Hopefully it catches on. And then in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm going, because it was Rampage and it was taped a week earlier. I'm like, I know I have a week. And I'm going to make this seem like the biggest deal of all time.
Rightfully so.
And everyone's going to think that like, oh, wow, he's debuting at AEW and his big match. And then the match happens. And then I'm like, I have the idea with my wife when we're sitting on the couch watching it. And she's like, the hell was that?
The wheels are already turning. How can I capitalize on this? I'm going to make the most of it.
That's it. And like people always talk about maximize your minutes in wrestling. That's like the big term. That was the only way I could do it, because I know there's no guarantee I'd be invited back. Right. Sure. And I haven't since, but all I know is that I can put this online and people can see more of me. And I did. And that's when things started kind of taking off. And I'm like, this can go one or two ways. People can be like, you're the biggest idiot on the planet, which I mean, people might
this guy
that, most clueless, or they can kind of see what I'm doing. And fortunately, the majority of people kind of got the idea of what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
With the My Sacrifice highlight video of really me just posing over and over again. And so they kind of figured out, like, now I get it. Now I get what Ben's doing. And that was my goal. That was my goal. And fortunately, like I said, things kind of picked up. And there are people that don't like it at times, because they're like, why are you're getting over in a way that's not the way people always say, be creative, be brave, this, that, and the other in wrestling. But they almost like, but not the way that you're not supposed to be getting over. Right.
Yeah,
like,
no, once you do it this way, there's this way that it needs to be done, even though things like evolve and change over time. It's 2025.
Exactly.
Different.
And so some people were like, oh, you're going to get heat. You're going to get this. You're going to get like the fancy word heat. You're going to get this. You're going to get that. You're going to get, people aren't going to like this. And I'm like, you know what? I'm figuring this out. And like, I'm already, I'm 34 and I'm like, it's now or never. And like, hey, if I get blackballed because I make a few funny videos, then really I'm self-deprecating. I'm making fun of myself.
Yeah.
If that blackballs me from wrestling, So be it. I got a life.
That's silly.
I got a life, right?
That sounds exhausting too, of having to deal with the constant, oh, you're doing this, but that's not the right way to do it. Yeah, I want you to do this, but that's not the right way. Like the constant pushback and criticism of you just doing your thing. Is there a lot? Do you feel like there is an excessive amount of that pushback?
Not as much as you would. A lot of people think like I have people all the time giving me shit, but like it's really not too much. So I don't want to sit here and be like everyone's out to get me or everyone's mad at me. I think Jack gets a lot more hate than I do.
Really?
I don't think he. The Twitter does it. Facebook, TikTok, everybody loves him.
We just need to blow up Twitter.
It's funny. Twitter is just like Twitter really gives him a lot, and it's become like popular for the IWC to not like Jack, which is the dumbest. Okay, because it's a gimmick. He's the vet. He's doing a gimmick, but nobody gets it. So he's worked everybody.
Funny how that works, right?
Might as well be. I think he's the best.
Funny how that works.
He's worked everybody. So, but yeah, no, I don't get too much, but I will have people reach out and just say like, I think what you do isn't right, or you're pulling back the curtain too much. I'm like, oh, brother, the curtain's been fucking pulled back to across the world at this point.
Again, it's 2025.
2025.
There is no curtain.
There's a million podcasts.
Yep.
There's a million podcasts. Everyone's talking about the ins and outs of the business. I'm talking about the guys that are shitty that are within wrestling.
Yeah.
And what I like is that I've gotten a lot of. It's almost like I've become the voice of gig performers. Because like I have a ton of people like comedians and musicians, like, at the same level as I am on the independent circuit, who are like, this is exactly how it is. This is the same thing for us too. So which is cool, because it's become relatable outside of wrestling, because I decided to choose a subject of content creation in one of the most niche markets ever. So unfortunately, it actually doesn't grow as much as I might want to, because I'm like, I can make so much more content, other stuff. I have other ideas, but I'm like, I got to stick to this wrestling.
You're like the niche, because I feel like I'm niche, but you're like the niche within the niche.
I'm the niche within the niche. Yeah.
It's like, damn, yeah, it is really.
I know.
But it still connects to other people too, and they still see it. Like the visibility is still important.
When I started hearing from like my friends that don't know anything about wrestling, they're like, we understand, this is funny and you're being funny. We don't know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. He's like, but we can tell this is funny. And so I'm like, okay, that's a compliment, because like they're like your mannerisms and how you deliver certain things, it's funny. No idea what you're talking about. So like when I say all the lingo and shit, like, we don't know what call time and gimmick and shoot and all this the carny, and we don't know what these words mean. Like in the context that you're saying them, it's like, but we see what you're doing and we can tell that you're being funny. So I'm like, okay, that's when it comes to like making videos and anything entertaining. I'm like, that's kind of that's harder than just talking and saying the words. It's like, can you be an entertaining presence behind a camera? So I'm like, okay, so something's working here. And I'm figuring it out. So yes, it's a niche market, but
and it sparks the curiosity too of people seeking it out and seeing what it is. Oh, this seems pretty cool. Let's look into what this means, or where he is, or where can we find this person. So it opens up the door to that. So I think that's you know what you're doing. Thank you. Yeah,
we're all still trying to figure it out. Like this internet shit is.
There's no guidebook.
There's no guidebook. No. People are like, well, if you post it this time and the algorithm here and the thumbnail looks here, it's like, yeah, but it changes the next month. So it's like, I tell people all the time. When people ask me, like I have a lot of wrestlers who will reach out and say like, what should I do? How can I get more engagement? And like, I'm sure people ask you the same thing, right?
Yep.
Like podcast hosts or streamers or anything.
Yep.
And I'm just like, there's no playbook. Like you said, like there's nothing, there's no set science of like, you got to do this. Like just put shit out there and like, see what happens. I think it was iShowSpeed was doing it for 5 years, getting maybe 2 or 3 people watching his streams at a time. And in 2020, it kind of, all of a sudden I think he got like mad on I don't know. I don't really know much about him, but I
don't either.
I read about it and it said like he like had a big reaction video that went super duper dumb viral.
Okay.
And it was soccer or something. He was watching soccer. And all of a sudden, boom, the floodgates opened and he figured it out. And now look at him. Right. So I tell people it's not, you don't know. You don't know. Like it's not, you just put shit out there and like something might work. Or then you end up finding your voice and you find like yourself in any type of content you put out. And then it might take trial and error. It's like, okay, shit, this doesn't work. Or this doesn't work. And like, you can't be afraid of it. Like and that's what I heard that a lot too, is like, I'm afraid to put something out there because like, what if it doesn't get a lot of likes? And I'm like, dude, whatever.
You know, it's a very, so you said you're 34.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a big thing I've noticed that a lot of creators right now that really are popping off are the people that are in their 30s and like early 40s because we don't give a shit.
I think that's a good point.
We just don't give a shit. I don't know what it is, but there are people that care entirely too much about what other people think about them or the fear of failure. And I don't know if it's just the way that we grew up or the way that we view things, but like it's just like it doesn't matter that much.
That's a good point because I do think I don't think I could have done this if I was in my like early 20s.
Yeah.
I think it'd be the same thing of like, because everyone's like, oh, it's not getting, oh, that's cringy or that's this.
Yeah, I get it all the time.
Yeah, and then the point exactly where you just something clicks where it's like the trigger, like the I don't give a fuck trigger.
Yeah.
It's like goes off in your head, and it's like, dude, whatever. Like if you think it's cringy, you think it's cringy. Like,
Then I am cool.
I mean, I'll be honest. Like if I was doing this. And it was, I've been putting these videos out since like July of 2023. And like, if it was really getting no engagement, I probably would have given it up by now. Because if they were really bad, like I wouldn't have done it. And there are a lot of things where it's like, I need to find what I do and are like funny, or I won't put it out. Like I can't just put things out just to be like, all right, I know this will get engagement. I won't do like a TikTok dance. I won't do like, I don't do I don't do a lot of the trendy stuff because to me, I find it cringy. It's like, I need to like what I do. I'm not just doing like engagement baiting. And again,
it's for you first and foremost.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with engagement. If that's how you do it, do your thing.
Do you boo-boo, but I'm not doing it.
But I can't bring myself to do that type of shit. So like I won't. So it's like everything even if it like halts any type of engagement, or if like my conscience can't do it. I can't do it. So I try to everything I put out, I'm like, I need to find it at least somewhat entertaining.
Yep.
Like there's videos that I'm like, it's fine, but I gotta put something out. But like
this one's fine. It's not really my cup of tea, but
yeah. So exactly. So, but that's the thing. It's like anybody that ever asks like how to do it, just do it. Like it's just really just get out there and film yourself doing something, or find a niche, find something that works for you. And that's the only way you're gonna figure it out. Like, it's the same thing with wrestling. Like you can't just train all the time. You got to get out in front of an audience. You got to see what works. You got to see what they react to.
Right.
Comedy's the same thing. You got to eat shit for years in front of 5 people in a comedy club before you figure out your voice or anything like that. It's not easy. It's just something that you gotta figure out, trial and error, not be afraid to fail. And then, the best talent, I always say, the best talent's availability and persistence, because if you just keep at it, most people give up. A lot of people are just going to give up.
Sure.
A lot of people are going to give up, but if you're there and you keep doing it, some crazy talented people might never do it, and they never might know how talented they could be because they're just afraid to kind of commit to it. Or people that have tried it and they just haven't given it enough time, and they just end up saying like, I'm done.
The lack of patience, they want the instant gratification, and most things just don't work that way.
Exactly. Most things won't. You see things going for the Costco guys. He was putting out videos for 10 years before that one blew up. He just stuck with it. So I always say like that's the best talent to have, is just persistence and availability and just stay with it. And if you're talented enough, that talent will come through, and it will show behind a camera or in a ring or behind a mic or whatever it may be. And so that's really the advice I really give.
Fabulous mindset. Fabulous mindset. I think that's the best way to be for really anything. And with that said too, what would you say with where you are right now? Do you have a major goal? Or are you just kind of vibing, doing your thing, whatever happens? A
little of both. I mean, any wrestler would be lying if they say their major goal isn't to be signed. Right. We all want to make money doing what we love.
Of course.
I would love that. I enjoy what I do. I've gotten a lot of really good feedback from influential people in wrestling about what I do. And they do enjoy it. And I'm hoping within the next year, something will happen. But again, you got to, the best advice that I've gotten in the past few years is that a watched pot never boils. So and that was what I was doing a lot of. I was kind of watching that pot. And I was like, I got to get signed. I got to get signed. I'm a loser. I got to get signed. And someone's like, you got to enjoy this journey. Because a lot of people will say like, And you hear wrestlers, a lot of really established wrestlers will say this a lot about, I miss like the chase. I miss kind of getting there. I kind of, even though the money's great, obviously
sure.
I have a good life, but like I miss kind of, getting there and hitting and trying to get to that goal because it's exciting. As frustrating as it is, it's also exciting. So, and my wife has done a great job of putting things into perspective for me of saying, like, look at the shit you've done. Look at the cool shit you've done. You got to do stuff with Barstool Sports. You got to be on Young Rock. You've done 2 WWE 2K commercials. You've got to meet a bunch of, the second one hasn't come out yet, so spoiler. But I think it's coming out in March.
Oh, cool.
But first one I was Hulk Hogan. I don't know if you saw it, but yeah, I was.
No, I don't think I did actually.
Yeah, so watch the 2K24 commercial. Triple H opens the curtain. The guy walks through. It's WrestleMania 3. I'm the body double for Hulk Hogan.
Oh, I'm going to find that shit. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, but yeah, it's like, and you get to meet all these people and you get to work with all these people that you grew up idolizing. And then I said to myself, like, man, 8, 9, 10-year-old Ben would think 34-year-old Ben's the coolest fucking guy in the world.
Right.
Like you gotta think about that. And like take a step back and just say, hey, I'm having fun doing something I never thought I would do. And so if it happens, great. And if it doesn't, I'm having fun. I'm having fun. And, I'm getting to meet cool people. I'm getting to go to shows now. And people are like, oh man, like people now are excited to work with me because they love the social media and they like people are like, oh, me and like, I have people that are like nervous to come up to me. And I'm like, I never thought that would happen. At like wrestling shows, like I'll have wrestlers be like, hey man, like, I don't want to bother you, but I'm like, what do you mean bother me? I'm like, oh, you're not bothering me. Like, I'm not, I would never be that person. And so they're
out there though. That's the thing.
I know it's unfortunate, right? But they'll be like, oh, me and my friends love your videos and we send them to each other. I'm like, oh my God. Like I never thought I would get to the point of something like that. And I'm not even at like the super high point yet, but it's just like, it's just cool that like that's happening. And I'm always grateful for it. I'll never think of myself better than anyone because I think that's the worst mindset to have. We're all doing something that's, putting ourselves out there. That's difficult. So anybody that tries to act like, better than they are, better than other people, I think that's just absolute bullshit. And it never will be, never will be me. I mean, if somebody's happy to see me and, we use the word mark a lot and all that, right? Like, I don't love the term. I've said it, but it's never a bad thing. We're all marks. We're all marks. Like I'm a mark because with the wrestlers are the biggest marks. We're the ones that do this shit.
Yeah, I get it all the time. It's fine.
Yeah. So but
hurt my feelings.
Like, there's nothing. Like everyone's like, oh, I gotta like meet fans. Like, what do you mean? Like upset about like talking to fans or like meeting people? Like, why they're the ones that if they weren't here, you wouldn't be getting paid anything, or you wouldn't be able to do this. So, really, when it comes down to like goals, number one goal, I want to be signed, whether AEW, TNA, WWE, whatever, right? Like it'd be great to make a living out of this and do this and not have to have a shoot job or anything. But again, our number one goal is to just enjoy it because there was a point I didn't. Now I am. I enjoy going to shows. I enjoy performing in front of people. I'm finding myself a little bit more, so it's becoming even more fun to do it. And that's the number one goal. It sounds so corny. To be like, I just want to have fun, but it really is. I'm again 34. I have a cool hobby. I do something most people don't do. That's the goal, is to just enjoy this shit while I still can do it.
It can be as corny as it is because I'm corny too, and I say the exact same thing with my own platform and what I do. Like. Yep. It's just, I'm just having fun. Whatever will come from it, comes from it. I've gotten to do a lot of cool shit and things that I never would have ever gotten to do before. So totally understand. I think we're all kind of in the same boat, just figuring shit out and just doing what we do. Just doing what we do. We're just,
that's all life is. Figuring shit out each day. Just figuring it out.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Before we finish, you do hair, right?
I do.
Have you ever thought about making content around that?
Yes.
Like interviewing somebody while you do their hair?
Yes.
You have thought about it?
I have.
Because I've been honestly thinking about this for like, I'm thinking about, and I've thought about it a lot actually, because I see that you do hair and I've been like, why? I've never seen anybody do that. So like, have you thought about that?
I have thought about it. It's never come to fruition. I've had the idea down with specific people, or I've had it scheduled with specific people. And then either something comes up, like if I'm working an event or if they're working, and then it just doesn't it doesn't happen and it doesn't click.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of things have to come together and figure it out. But
Yeah.
I think you should do it.
I
You
want
try to figure
to.
it out.
I want to, but then it depends on the kind of hair and who it is, because there's
You
certain
do
things
male and female hair?
I do both, but
Okay.
I'm not the greatest with like barbershop shit. So if someone wants like a real fucking like tapered fade, it's not really my wheelhouse. So that's the only thing.
Maybe we'll figure something out, because I would do it.
Yeah.
I would do it, and we could have fun with it. Yeah. Maybe we'll talk. We'll talk. But I think that could be cool content. And I'm happy you thought about it, because I was thinking, I'm like, man, I haven't seen anybody do that.
Oh yeah, it's in there, and it's just making it happen.
I know. Execute ideas are great, but really, when it comes down to it, you got to execute. But no, thank you so much, Wheezy. This has been awesome. And again, like what you're doing, I think you do a great job. Not just blowing smoke here. I know what you guys do, and all the shit you guys get as well. But there's always, you got to put the energy into people that support you. And that's what I'm trying to do more of in 2025, and not deal with the trolls and deal with all this bullshit.
So yeah, I'm done giving them energy.
You got to, because
we're done. I'm not doing it.
I'm sure the majority of people that interact with you are giving you compliments, but then it's always that one person that you can't stop thinking about that gives you that shit, right?
Yep.
And try not to worry about those people, but keep doing what you're doing as well. I mean, it's again, like you said, we're just figuring this shit out day by day. So, but we will. We'll just keep doing that.
Somehow, some way, I'm gonna figure it out. I don't know. Maybe not. Well, no, I appreciate it, dog. Thank you. Do you want to plug your socials real quick?
So I've finally kind of consolidated my socials. Mostly everything is at Big Trouble BB. Instagram, Twitter, I'm the most active on. Still figuring out TikTok. Maybe I'm aged out of it. Not really, but
we're definitely aged out.
I can't figure that goddamn algorithm out. Blue Sky too. I mean, I don't know. There's too many.
That one I can't figure out.
I can't figure out either. And then and YouTube, trying to get YouTube up and going a little bit. I'm almost at 500 subscribers, and that's just a slow, steady pace there. But
YouTube's a slow one, but
it is. But yeah, you can follow me anywhere, and I tell people all the time. I have merch. I have the link on my Instagram, Big Cartel site, Big Trouble BB as well, up on Big Cartel. Got some cool merch designs, and got a bunch of cool stuff coming up. Like I said, this weekend, February 23rd against AJ Francis in Atlanta, and then a huge match I'm very excited for. One of the guys that I've always wanted to work with, because I just really respect everything that he's done. Is I get to wrestle Nick Nemeth March 21st in Maryland, in Hagerstown, Maryland. So that's definitely a bucket list match for me. And one of those cool things you just got to enjoy. It's like things that you never thought would happen watching wrestling growing up, and getting to do something like that. So a lot of cool stuff coming up. Of course, Squared Circle Expo that I will see you at.
I'll be there again. What's my fourth year in a row?
I owe you and your husband a green tea shot. Right.
Hold you to it.
That'll be fun. So yeah, a lot of stuff coming up, guys. Follow me. I mean, I talk about it all. You're not going to miss that. If you follow me, you're not going to miss anything, because I got a ton of shit coming up, and I always will talk about it. So yeah, that's really it. That's
the shtick. Thank you so much.
I don't shut up. That's the shtick.
No, neither do I. I feel like I've met my match, because I feel like you yap better. You yap more and better than I do. I'm supposed to be the yap god, and
I talk way too much. I could go 3 hours on these things. Yeah, for real.